and catching everybody before March Madness as Michigan is set to play at 9:55 against UCLA in one of those old school matchups between two big conferences for the Sweet Eight here, or the Elite Eight, Sweet Eight. It's the Baseball and Judgment Podcast special. I'm Rogelio Castillo. Beside me is Chris Brown, Mark Gorosh, and Brandon. At some point, Brandon Dave from Bless You Boys. Mark, who is newly wrote his first piece for Motor City Bengals. And Mark, welcome to the staff, by the way. Welcome to putting all your stuff on Twitter right on an organized format. How'd you like that format?
I tried to add 2 or 3 things that I hadn't already written on Twitter. Come on.
Yep. Yeah, but now they'll be saved forever so that, 6 years from now, someone can come back at you for, some minute little prediction that you made and call you a jackass. And that's what it's all about in the end, preserving it all for posterity so people can hunt it down 5 or 6 years later and be like, oh, you said this. You don't know baseball.
I was just trying to make Rogelio Castillo and Chris Brown and Kurt Menching proud of me.
Yeah. Kurt was pretty excited. I saw him retweet it yesterday, and so it was a very good response. We had some comments on Facebook. And actually, there's a comment. We're going to get more comments on the section side of things. Not like it, Blood Boys still dominates the comment section. And I can't dispute that whatsoever. Yeah. But we're getting a few comments, and somebody pointed out that, well, I just agree with you on all of it, Mark. So if you get a chance, check it out. It's on there, and of course, I expected that.
Was that my wife?
I guess whoever Orange Owl. I have to check who the name was, but it was some random.
Yeah.
Maybe it could have been David Littlefield in disguise. I don't know.
It always is. Yeah.
I am. Listen, wouldn't be the first time somebody disagreed with all of it. It's probably Joe Jimenez's mother.
Jeez. But so we're 2 days away from opening day as the Tigers come home.
Nothing to say. I had nothing to Joe Jimenez's mother.
Yeah, he's gonna be starting the season in Toledo, but we'll get back to that in a second. But the Tigers open the season. Matthew Boyd taking the hill on Thursday at 1:10 to start. I will be down there for opening day. I'm actually gonna go to the game. My second official opening day, but in this strange capacity. The mayor of Detroit today was announcing that if you're not going to the game, do not bother to go down there. And so it's going to be an interesting atmosphere. It's only 8,000 fans, so everybody's going to be sectioned off a little bit. And I'm sitting in section 335. So I'm looking forward to it and taking the wife. And
is that on the third baseline?
Yes, that's correct. Third baseline.
Okay, yeah.
So I got season tickets for the first time in my life. 39 years old. Finally getting to get season tickets, and it was a pretty good deal. But I wanted to go because, as much as this team is going to be, we'll get to predictions. They're predicted to win anywhere from at 68 games right now. But you have to, I'll start the discussion with really the spring training optimism. There's a lot of that going around. Everybody loves spring training. There's so many good stories going around. And we'll start with the one that really stands out is Akil Baddoo. And Baddoo is something that, there's the disputes. Somebody pointed out, I saw somebody point out, Brian Holiday had 4 home runs in spring training. Did everybody get excited about that? It's a little different, but
you probably
did. But I'll start, Brandon, with you in terms of Akil Baddoo's talent, and he's going to start his game in the series against Cleveland at some point, but it just, what has he done to impress you?
Yeah. The best way to go about this is probably not to just look at the results, but look at what pitches is he seeing, what pitches is he hitting, what are the actual skills look like, and that's where it's really encouraging. He's not just running into a couple pitches. He's not facing some low end AAA relievers who throw hard and are just pumping them down the middle. He hit Domingo Germán yesterday, fastball right in on his hands, pulled his hands in really quickly, smoked that thing out to right. I think there's, we have to keep an eye out, and we have to know that when he faces major league pitching, you're going to see guys who can command multiple secondary pitches. If they get warded off, by off the fastball against him, we'll have to see how he responds to that. But he's been spitting on a ton of breaking balls that were just out of the zone all spring long. And if you start throwing fastballs, anywhere up to him, he's going to smoke it. And we've seen him go opposite field. We've seen him go right down the right field line. So, from a scouting perspective, there's a lot to like there that goes beyond, well, he hit this many home runs or this is what his numbers look like. Compared to some of the footage I've watched from, back when he was at high A and single A, he does look like a different hitter. And you kind of get that same impression from AJ Hinch and the coaches too, when they talk about his maturity, the discipline and, and thoughtfulness with which he's approaching each day, each at bat. It's all been very impressive. So, I don't really know what kind of expectations to have specifically, like numbers wise, but, could he go out there and hit 230, 240, OBP 300, 310, hit you 15, 20 homers, steal that many bases? Yeah, maybe he already can. And if he can't, that's okay, because he's still only 22 and really he's like a AA level prospect right now. And if he needs a whole nother year, to get to that point, that'd be just fine as well. So, all in all, there's plenty to be excited about there. It's just a matter of like, don't expect him to come out and just start wrecking shop and, being one of the more dominant players, in the AL Central or anything like that. If that happens, awesome. Well, there'll be plenty of time for us all to catch up and go crazy and buy our jerseys then. But for the time being, just enjoy the ride. We're going to watch him develop, and we're going to watch him develop with a coaching staff that we're all still getting familiar with, and there's just a lot to be excited there. So he's been a great story, absolutely. Yeah,
you can even see here that there's in terms of even his size and presence here. This is from a few years ago. Chris, what were your thoughts? And we talked about it at length every podcast, it seems like, but it's a story that keeps wanting to be told.
Yeah, Brandon said basically echoed most of my thoughts. I guess basically the only thing we haven't seen, pitchers specifically game plan for him, and that'll come once he gets 50, 75 at bats or whatever. They'll figure out what his weaknesses are and then exploit those. And so we don't know how he's going to adjust, but he does seem to have a good eye and he's got those skills. So I think he's going to be able to survive at the least. And that's basically all you want from a Rule 5 pick. We get excited and get greedy and want him to play really well. But, I think he's got a guy who can survive and stick on the roster. And then, going forward, maybe you got yourself a regular corner outfielder, which is pretty awesome.
Yep.
And, Mark, what about you? In terms of what you've seen so far?
I'd say he's pretty much the perfect Gorosh process and profile player. Walks, works counts, takes pitches, can hit both spin and velocity, pulls the ball, not afraid to take a strike. Here's something interesting. Exit velocity. He's hit the ball harder than any ball that Spencer Torkelson has hit that's been measured.
Small sample size, yeah.
Well, but Badou's been between 108 and 110. Torkelson has never been above 106. So, and Chris and I were talking about Torkelson's exit velocity today, but the point is there's a lot of skills there. The question I think Chris brought up, which is very valid. Look, spring training, pitchers might have a plan for a hitter, but there's no real scouting reports. There's no video study on guys' weaknesses where they find particular zones and they pound it with 7 or 8 pitches in a sequence to try to abuse a zone weakness. There's none of that. And I think that we all overestimate spring training performance. I think I put a little tidbit in my piece the other day, which was Heimer Candelario hit 138 in the spring last year.
Yeah.
He was great in the regular season. And Josh Harrison and John Hicks were the leading hitters in 2019.
Yeah.
So what's it mean? It's nice when guys do really well because you get to showcase skills. But, when pitchers are throwing spin and are attacking areas with a purpose, it changes the game. I'll be really interested to see how the kid does. I like it. And I think the other thing I said the other day, which is pretty hilarious, but when you look at over 6 years, a 9th round draft choice and a Rule 5 pick have been two of the most exciting players that Al Avila has added to the Tigers in 6 years. And it weirdly says a lot. So
just to can I just wrap this back to the scouting thing one more time? Like if people are watching, and go look at Fangraphs, because it's the most kind of publicly friendly one, or Prospects Live or whatever, and look at the way they graded Akil Badu's tools 2 years ago. It's like 40 hit, 55 raw power. When you're seeing 110 mile per hour exit velocities, now you're talking plus raw power.
Yeah,
and then it's just a question of, I don't know that he's got the best hands, but when you're seeing, that good an eye, you can overcome, not having 60 contact ability, which he doesn't. He's probably more like 45 or something like that. But yeah, right. You combine that with power, plus power plus speed. I'll take it. That's better than anything we got.
But the other thing is he's got a small strike zone. He's not afraid to walk. Okay, and I forget if Petzold or Cody wrote a piece. What was really interesting in the piece that I read, and I could relate to it a lot because I had my own child's kind of journey in some of the same ways. He was always the youngest player, sometimes up to 2 years. He kept being asked to play or try out for teams in the greater Atlanta area, which is the mecca for youth baseball in the United States. It's the most competitive place for youth baseball in my mind in the United States. And he kept making teams as the youngest player, or teams that people didn't think he should make. And he'd be playing, and other parents, there's a lot of pressure for a kid like that. And all the kid kept doing is starting the year as an unknown and ending the year as one of the best players. And he did this all the way from 9 years old to getting drafted in the 2nd round. And there's a lot to be said for makeup like that. You're used to being scoffed at, and then you're used to turning that chip on your shoulder into being a productive player. And it seemingly has done it again at this level. So you got to like something like that. It's something you can't teach, and you hope that it translates into the regular season and he becomes a productive player. Especially, he's probably a left fielder, but even if he could play center, that'd be great.
And before we move on, too, the one of the things that Brandon just touched on it too, in terms of exciting players in the system, in terms of the outfield, you're looking at a situation right now where the Tigers are. I mean, you have currently Daniel Cabrera coming up. They drafted him. They have Roberto Campos. They have Jose De La Cruz, and a lot of guys who are sight unseen right now at the moment in terms of prospect. Going through the prospect rankings, who are rising up, and this is the first kind of, I think, since 2018, 2019, where we actually see somebody unlike it's not Riley Green that comes up and excites you a little bit. And that's where I think that I understand where the excitement is coming from for Tiger fans, because all we've seen is Riley Green, and it's no offense to the likes of Jacob Robson or Cam Gibson or even Jose Alzgar, who's no longer in the organization, or Derek Hill. Daz Cameron, for example. Daz Cameron, I thought had a good camp considering coming back from his injury, but I know the Yankee, Cam King Singleton kept making that comparison to his father, which I thought was really cool, but it just seems like Badu's guarding some. We got a comment from Ralph, by the way. Mark looks comfortable. Prospect Jesus says that, and he's dead on. But
folks out there, trust Prospect Jesus. He will lead you to the light. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love you, Ralph.
Love you, Ralph. Love you, Matthew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I think fans are excited, because he's the first prospect seen that we're just like, holy crap, it's not Riley Green. It's not just the those kind of things. And so
should we
that's
use
what we need,
Should we use the word pop-up prospect? Because every team needs some pop-up prospects, right?
Yeah.
Every report you'll read about the Tigers farm system is, there's 6 or 7 guys. And then, the depth after that just isn't that good. There's a lot of stack of lottery tickets down there, beyond, say, the 20 range. And, the guys in the middle, the Tigers haven't shown much ability to develop hitters. So, a lot of places they're just not going to give the Tigers the benefit of the doubt on that. And I don't blame them at all, because neither do I. So, yeah. So, I mean, we need a couple guys, they need a couple bats to come up. This whole thing right now is predicated on the Manning, Mize, Skubal trio working out, and then Torque and Green. But, by the time you establish that, if that's what we're kind of going off into the whole big picture thing here now, or I am, but, by the time you establish that, some of these guys are going to be gone, not that Boyd or, Fulmer or Norris or any of those guys are big impact players, but they're guys that you have now that you're going to have to replace by the time, this core gets there. And, we need a lot more coming, and we need them to come faster than they are, not just like one really good one at a time. You've got to have those, all those secondary pieces to make this thing work, because we don't see any sign that Chris Ilitch is going to drop $150 million on this team, for a season anytime soon. So,
I mean, in terms of even hitters, you're absolutely right, Brandon. I mean, if you think about it, I've watched the Tigers for a long time. This is where I'm going to age myself right now. In the last 20 years, I mean, you talked about the next big thing was going to be Steven Moya. Didn't happen. There's, you have the Andy Dirks of the world, the Cleet Thomases, the fourth outfielder. The fourth outfielder explosion of just fourth outfielders across the board. You have Tyler Collins and so on and so forth. But in terms of actual pure hitters, actual ones that come through the system, I remember the whole thing about Juan Encarnacion, and I love Lynn Henning for this, and not even in Japan, Ralph. Stephen Moy, he's actually right about that. But I remember Juan Encarnacion had this big deal about Juan Encarnacion, like he was gonna be this 5, and Matt Joyce. Okay, Matt Joyce. But he didn't get the prospect type. Matt Joyce didn't really. When you thought of Matt, did you think Matt Joyce is? I thought more of him. He was not given enough time. Yeah. And Yoro Suarez, Willie Adames, all that. Like that aside, put that aside for a second. Juan Encarnacion was supposed to be this big 5-tool player. Never happened. Yeah. He got better somewhere else. And a lot of these hitters sometimes tend to happen that way. Gabe Kapler comes to mind. Frank Caliano, thank you, comes to mind as well. But the Tigers, in terms of infield talent, in terms of outfield talent, it's been a long time. I mean, Devi Cruz was the last shortstop that they actually developed with some sort of staying power, quote unquote, that had a 2+ WAR season.
Yeah, but Raj, let's put something in here. What's ended up happening is some of the decent players they traded. I mean, Eugenio Suarez. We still have never got. I've asked, and we've all asked, and we have people to ask. We still can never get a straight story about how the heck that deal ever evolved, because that deal is so anti-Dombrowski in style that it just defies explanation, truly. And good player.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get mad at them for the Adames deal. Heck, they got David Price, and they turned David Price into something. So it wasn't like they got nothing for it. And let's be really frank about it. Tampa stashed him for 5 damn years in the minor leagues. So, but yeah, I mean, look, they picked some players, Suarez and Adames, in the last 10 years. Though it's 2 pretty damn good. I mean, Suarez is going to play shortstop this year, so it's two pretty decent everyday major league shortstops. So we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, those aside, I mean, again, but in terms of just staying with the Tigers, I mean, those two, Suarez was not given. I understand why the trade happened with those. I'm not disparaging that whatsoever. I just think that it's nice to have, for once, a prospect to come out of nowhere and going, didn't see that coming. That's not a reliever.
Thank God.
It's just a sign of hopefully things to come. And speaking of prospects, in terms of, sorry, Ralph is it's got some good one-liners this evening. But Spencer Torkelson, Spencer Torkelson had a rough spring, and I'm not gonna make too much of it. But I'll start with you, Chris. Spencer Torkelson's spring. What would you make of it? Is it just rust, whatever you wanted to call it?
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum too. He's had such a brutal spring that it's hard not to feel a little bit bad about it. I don't know, can you see me? Did I disappear?
You're good.
But I don't think we can put much into it. I mean, the gap between college and major league pitching is so vast that I mean, we don't normally see guys come up and pick out at 54% clip or or whatever. And you definitely don't want to see that from the 1-1 pick, but I don't think it's going to be a huge long-term problem. I do think he needs to make some adjustments. We talked about it before. I think there's something about his swing that I don't really like. I'm not a swing mechanic or a swing doctor or anything like that. I just don't think he uses his legs very much. And so.
Well, I know Prospect. If Prospect Jesus is watching right now, I'm just wondering, what did Ralph think of Torkelson's swing? But I mean, before we get to him, or in terms of his opinion, but Brandon, what did you think? I mean, it was just, were we making too much of this, or people are?
I mean, it was bad enough that, like, I mean, I would almost always, just kind of write it off and ignore it. It was, it was pretty brutal. There were some guys who were, just AA level pitchers who didn't really have that much for him, and he was looking bad. He was looking bad against him. So, I don't take that much out of it either. I'm much more the pitching guy than the swing guy, so I'm not going to say a whole lot there either. I mean, I do think, maybe a little bit more activity from the legs, a little bit of lateral motion toward the pitcher might help him a little bit. But I don't know that had anything to do with it. I think, he just looked like one of those times where he just kind of got into a funk and then pressed, and it got worse. And they kind of sent him down to minor league camp a little bit more. Didn't see him very much. I don't take a whole lot away from it. I assume he's still the same guy everybody hyped him up to be. But I mean, I think if we look at all four of us at the time Torkelson was drafted, we weren't exactly like unanimously like in love with it, because he's got a mash. They can mess with third base all they want to, but he's going to end up playing first base. And if he's not, a top 20 bat minimum in the game, that wasn't a very good pick. So I'm not concerned at all. I'm not going to worry about it. We'll see how things go this season. But I mean, it wasn't, it certainly wasn't what you'd like to see. It'd be nice to have a few highlights. Nice to have a few, smashed 450-foot home runs out there, just to put on his highlight reel. But for now, we're just going to write it off and assume things will be better shortly.
Yeah,
I was just saying, I wonder if the Tigers are particularly happy that he did so poorly, so they don't have to worry about this, the Bobby Witt stuff, where like, hey, come up right now. Like, no, you saw what happened in training.
Right. He needs more time. He needs a little bit more time.
Yeah, I'm not worried about either. Ralph makes a good point. It's been 9 months he's seen game-live pitching, let alone at a high level, and he's absolutely right. I mean, if wherever he's going to start, to see the adjustments there, and the whole Bobby Witt thing was so. I mean, we talked to Max Kepler from Royals Review, and just in terms of how
Rex
much
Reaper?
Rex Reaper, what the hell is wrong?
Yeah.
I can't. I was thinking about Max Payne, the old video game for Xbox. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me this evening, but
no, it's fine. I didn't mean to interrupt. It just, I think you said Max Kepler, and it was like.
No, Max Kepler, like with the Twins prospect, yeah. But no, Max.
Hey, we talk to prospects occasionally.
Well, we do talk prospects occasionally. You're right, and it's just for. I think a lot of the Royals fans were really excited to see that, and it was good to see that. And we're talking torque. We're at some torque talk here, and I'm not worried about it. It's just it is what it is. No, I'm not really.
I mean, the poor guy did cut his hand open on a can of beans. I mean, can't just write that off. You have an injury like that in the spring, it throws you off your game.
Yeah, he might have a bean allergy.
We all remember what our first year out of college was. You're trying to feed yourself. You're living with Captain Jake Rogers and Riley Green. They all know the drill already. It's got to be intimidating.
Yeah, maybe he's getting hitting tips from Jake Rogers.
It's much ado.
It did look like it a bit.
Much ado about nothing.
Yeah.
I think that Spencer Torkelson's biggest issues this spring were mostly above his shoulders, as opposed to some mechanical flaw.
Yeah.
I think Chris and I talked today. It's a little concerning. I'd like to see some higher exit velocities. I'd like to see him hit the ball harder more often, but I think he took a lot of pitches. Seeing a guy that's throwing 92, 93 with a breaking ball, that's a pretty good collegiate pitcher, okay?
Yeah.
It's what you see every day when you're in big league camp, going into games. Seeing 95 with stuff that's better than that, you don't see that too much on, Saturday and Sunday playing in the Pac-12. So,
yeah.
I'm sure he saw it playing on Team USA. The point is that, it's a lot to ask. I don't care how good a hitter he is. And I think he needed to learn how to attack a little more. He has a pretty patient approach. And like I said, he was in a 2-strike count literally every time I saw him hit.
Yeah, they were just throwing strikes, and he was just kind of like waiting for that perfect pitch.
I was actually shocked that Hinch didn't say to him, look, I'm playing you today. Here's the deal. As soon as you get strike one, your job is to swing at the next strike, okay? And or the first strike. But, you know, I mean, it's spring. You can do stuff like that. But at the same time, like I said, much ado about nothing. And usually really good players, you find out a lot about them. Adversity is always a good thing. I think, it reminds me of, and we'll talk about this later because we're going to talk about Casey Mize at some point, but, Brandon and I do a lot of pitching stuff together, and we have never been huge Mize guys, although we do like him. We didn't love him. And while he was getting his ass beat in for the last year, people would be saying things, and shockingly, I liked him better. The more he got his ass beat, the more I liked him because his stuff kept getting better. He just located it worse. And
it also just kind of shut everybody up with some of the hype. So it just dialed it back to where it needs to be. This is not going to be Justin Verlander 2.0. I don't want to hear any of that.
Good players need to learn how to make adjustments at this level of play. I mean, Mike Trout needed to make adjustments at this level of play. It's part of the gig. And if you are good, you learn how to make them, and you learn how to apply them, and you take your game to the next level. That's part of being a good player. And I think this is a good lesson for Torkelson, and we'll see how he is the next time we see him. I suspect that he will do major damage hitting against class high A pitchers, and we'll check back in June and see where we're at.
Yeah. I saw that question from Braylon. The answer is no. They're not going to make the playoffs. If they had signed one really good bat to go with this group, they might have like a faint outside chance. If the prospect pitchers all had big seasons, the pitching could be good enough to maybe skate you in there. But no, there's just not going to be enough offense. Not nearly.
My answer to that was, are you trolling me?
Well, yeah.
Well, so if they had expanded the playoffs again this year, where there's 16 teams getting in,
you're expanding the playoffs to 24 teams. We got an outside shot.
Is there still an opportunity where Tony La Russa is actually driving the entire White Sox team in some kind of vehicle? Because otherwise, no, we probably don't have a shot.
I think people should be happy if they get 70 wins. I think that's progress for this team.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, and let's get to the offense in terms of who they're bringing into camp. We just talked about Baду a little bit, and we talk about the only multi-year deal that they signed this year was Robbie Grossman, who will be playing left field. But the outfield is kind of to me, a little bit of a concern, only because you look at Jacoby Jones kind of struggling a little bit, and something about he didn't hit off-speed pitches too well. And then there's, of course, the most popular debate of all time on social media, Tigers Twitter. What is Victor Reyes? And I know that we have the soft serve emojis and all that stuff, but in all seriousness, this is where I think
I nicknamed him Vic Peppers today. So
Vic Peppers, aka Vic Peppers. So where in terms of weaknesses, I think it's the outfield. Mark, where do you think this team's weakness is offensively?
Oh, I think their outfield is, the 28th to 30th ranked offensive outfield in baseball, no doubt about it. So, but we'll see what happens with it. Look, anytime Victor Reyes is going to get 500 at bats in an outfield, you have offensive challenges as an outfield. So, you can't have guys in your outfield that walk 5% of the time and have 100 ISO. And what really is upsetting about it is it'll be the third year that they've had him playing in the outfield with that exact profile. Usually people who do that, who are general managers, get fired, except here. So, their outfield is poor. Jacoby, believe it or not, has been really good his last 400 at bats. It's just a very frustrating profile because it's so feast or famine. He'll be really, really good for a month or 6 weeks, and then he'll hit, he'll put up a slash of 198, 232, 314, and he'll strike out 35% of the time for the next 100 at bats. So it's Jacoby is not young. He's frustrating.
Yeah.
And it seems as he is not a preferred kind of player in the AJ Hinch style of play. And I would expect if he starts being very streaky, that he will find himself either on the bench or option to Toledo within probably 50 days. In the first 50 days of the season, he's going to have to show something. So they don't lack for other bad center fielders to play over Jacoby Jones. I mean, they can play Reyes in center, which I get the feeling that Hinch kind of likes, and I'm sure Baddoo will also see time in center field. He'll see time all three spots. But, I mean, if you notice, Jacoby played quite a bit of left field in the spring, which I thought was a good thing, and it's part of how Hinch does things. So Jacoby's a very good defensive left fielder. Let's be really honest about it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, their outfield from an offensive standpoint is bad. I mean, as far as Nomar Mazara, who we haven't discussed, I put a little piece in there with the help of my buddy Chris Brown. Look, if Nomar pulls the baseball, even at all, he's a decent average major league hitter who can probably hit 20 dongs. If he's going to hit everything to left field, he's going to get released by June 15th. So, just look at the charts. It is what it is. He hits the ball hard, but if he doesn't pull the baseball, he's not good. So,
yeah, and he doesn't do anything else for you. He's like Yandy Diaz without the ability to play third base. Just smoking, ground balls and line drives. Just doesn't get you paid in the show. And I think the Tigers, that timetable you said is about right. He was working with Scott Coolbaugh, who's our new hitting coach in Chicago last year. Didn't go very well, and then late in the playoffs, Mazara kind of heated up a little bit. Had a few good games, and he talked about that, we've been working on these adjustments, and I started feeling it come together. Okay, so now we're going to carry that over, and now you get, 150, 200 plate appearances to see if anything carried over. And if it didn't, we don't really want you in right field all that badly unless you're not mashing. And, he's only 26, but I'm sure, the Rangers tried to make all these adjustments with him for years. It didn't take. So, it was worth a try. He's the kind of player that I think we all would have liked to seen them pick up more of this type of player. The past 3 years when they had every reason to just take flyers on anybody with one big tool, and they didn't really do it. So it's okay with me, to give him a good look, let Baddoo settle in and play a little bit. I'm still a little weirded out that they even brought both Reyes and Jones. I don't know. I don't see the point of that because I still think Victor Reyes might benefit from playing every day and getting to see a lot of pitching at Toledo might help him a little bit. But it just comes down to that. If Mazara happens to catch fire and be better than expected, this offense or the outfield at least could be, a lot better than last year. But the bar was just so low. I like Robbie Grossman. I think Robbie Grossman could have a 3 or 4 WAR season, be a solid hitter. He's gotten better defensively over the past 2 or 3 years, really worked on that because it was always, dinging him in arbitration and dinging him in free agency and stuff. So, he's a solid player, and it's just a question of, are you going to get anything out of the other 3 guys? And if Jones and Reyes just look like themselves, like, why don't you just play Baddoo until the wheels fall off? It's like, this is more fun to watch.
Yeah, and there's before first and foremost, Kenon. Welcome.
What's up?
Yeah, I like that.
What's happening?
You look like you're in a black abyss right now. It's just a strange floating in an abyss. But
he's amid the city lights up there.
Yeah, no, outside, sitting poolside.
Oh, nice. God. Yeah, that's right. He's down in Florida right now. But
we've added young and handsome to the show.
He's definitely handsome us up. We got man bun guy over here. We got Poison Ivy to the right over there, and lay back dude right in the middle, and then Brandon with the long hair. But we had a question. Ralph had a question about thoughts on Fetter so far, and I've definitely seen some things he's done in terms of I know Dan Dickerson has talked about all the pitchers had the playbook, but in terms of like just them working on his entire year plan, he's had everything planned out. I was told my man bun is great. Don't let me tell you otherwise. But I
love it. You got like podcast samurai vibe going on right now, and I love it. All about it.
Sword, but
we got samurai there. We got pitching ninja.
Nice.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, representing. But Ken, I'll start with you in terms of what you've seen from Chris Fetter's impact on the line or the rotation so far.
I don't know that we can disseminate anything that we've seen too far. Maybe you guys can. I don't know. For me, can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Yep. Gotcha.
Okay, good. For me, I lump him in with AJ Hinch, and it's just a change in mentality, and a change in what we're looking for out of players, whether it's hitters or pitchers, every day when we go to the ballpark. It's a commitment to the analytical process, which successful organizations have adopted, and the hot prospects within the Tigers organization that we think are the future of this organization believe in, even when they were part of the previous administration. Mm-hmm. And now they've got sort of the leadership to support the things that they've been buying into on their own. So to be determined what impact Chris Fetter's going to have. But for me, it's like they found the right guy to pair with the collection of prospects that they already acquired before he got here.
I was going to say, the only thing I was going to notice is that the pitchers seem like they're, correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon and Chris, Mark, if you guys noticed that there seem like the pitchers are attacking the top of the zone more. They're throwing more inside. I thought Matthew Boyd's release point looks a little different too, that was pointed out, but I honestly thought that the way they're attacking the zone and challenging on the inside seemed a little different.
Yeah, well, I think that philosophy definitely comes maybe part from Chris Fetter, but also from AJ Hinch. I mean, AJ Hinch and the Astros are huge believers in verticality, pitching at the top of the zone with breaking balls that, have a lot of depth, 12-6 curveballs. They like that. They're flexible. You're not going to try to, force square pegs and round holes and, try to have like, Casey Mize, work on his spin rate or try whatever tacky stuff he can get going to try to look like Justin Verlander throwing, high spin fastballs. I think that's the best thing about Fetter from what I've seen from him so far. He's got a very advanced approach, and he's also not unwilling to get involved and make proactive changes. Maybe when things, like Rick Anderson, most of the pitching coaches we've had are like, this term could be used in wrong ways, but tweakers, they're there to take guys who are already in the major leagues and help them a little bit with their delivery, help them find something in their eye line or, some little delivery cue to help, straighten them out and improve their command. They can teach pitches, I'm not saying they can't do all that stuff as well, but, they're guys who are there almost as like, psychological, sounding boards, primarily. Whereas Chris Fetter seems much more the type who, is willing to look at a guy and say, look, that just isn't going to play. That pitch isn't going to play. It's not just about, your command or your sequencing. All those things are important, but I can do this for you. I can, teach you this grip. I can show you how, to manipulate the seams on this grip to get more movement. He's more the type where if you're open to it, he's going to be very proactive with you. If you're not open to it and you want to, kind of lay back, he can work with you that way too. So that's what I really like. We're going to have to wait and see what the results are. I don't want to, oversell, Chris Fetter's impact right away, but he just seems very versatile and very flexible and very, very committed and like a guy who has like, tons of plans for everybody, plans for every situation, plans that can be, altered, plans that are flexible. Whereas, the previous coaching staff, we all know was just here, kind of babysitting the team, trying to help out where they could, but kind of just, just playing out the string. And you're seeing a guy who I think feels a lot of pressure. I think feels like a serious amount of, pressure to do a good job. There's been a lot of hype around the hire. He's not necessarily a local guy, but he's a University of Michigan pitcher, University of Michigan pitching coach, very successful there. got this job after a lot of people courted him. And, you know, I think he does feel, you know, some heat that like, yeah, I should have, you know, I'm trying to make an impact here, and I'm not just going to sort of watch these guys for a year to see how things go. And he's also does seem to have built really good relationships pretty quickly with these guys. I've been doing this a long time now. I have a pretty good feel for when pitchers say the right thing about their coaches versus when they have actual enthusiasm behind it. And they're very enthusiastic about Chris Fetter, you know, pretty much uniformly. Some of the things Daniel Norris and Matt Boyd have had to say, Casey Mize, Scuba Manning, all those guys have been, you know, I would say proactive in expressing their praise for him so far, and how much they're enjoying working with him. So, yeah, we'll just see what the dividends are. But for now, yeah, it's all going to plan, I would say, other than, you know, him unfortunately getting popped with the COVID test. Popped sounds he wasn't roiding with COVID, but yeah, but he's going to be out for a couple of weeks or two, which kind of sucks. You know, it's got to be a drag. You know, your first opening day as the major league pitching coach, and you're gonna have to sit at home watching it on TV, texting everybody or whatever. Yeah. But we have Juan Nieves. We'll be fine.
Yeah, and maybe has with his experience down with Miami and I believe it was so he's got some good experience. Chris, what about you?
So one thing I want to say is, and Brandon and Mark, you guys have talked to some of the beat writers, I think, and Roger and I talked to Dan Dickerson. And one thing that we've learned is that AJ Hinch doesn't really want Chris Fetter talking to the press. Yeah. Part of it is because of the COVID protocols and everything, but part of it is Hinch is very much, he doesn't want one person saying something and then like contradictions coming out. Things like that. So kind of a control freak in that regard. So we don't know exactly what Fetter has done on the one hand. So there's some things we've seen from pitchers this spring. Casey Mize is throwing significantly harder. I don't know about significant, but like 2-3 kicks higher on average, basically.
Yeah. Manning's arm path is a little different, a little short. Yeah.
Skubal developed that split. I mean, he said that happened up in Driveline, but I don't know what kind of impact Fetter had on that. I've noticed Gregory Soto is throwing a lot more sliders this spring. He was like 80% fastball, 20% slider last year. It's like 35% now, which I think is huge for him. So we've seen some changes. We just don't know who to attribute them to. I don't know if Casey Mize did offseason strength training on his own, you know, accord or.
And a lot of those guys have been going to Driveline, you know, the past couple of years. You know, we started seeing, you know, I remember Fangraphs in particular. I think Eric Longenhagen or maybe it was Kylie McDaniel was talking about how the Tigers were starting to get a pretty good reputation for the way they were optimizing guys' stuff, and then it kind of came out, you know, over time that, well, maybe a lot of that optimizing went on at Driveline for most of these guys, you know, and that sort of undercut some of the last coaching staff as far as any impact they were potentially having. So yeah, it's just hard to know exactly, you know, who to give credit to and you know, and who had what impact. Did Chris Fetter turn Derek Holland into a flame-throwing relief wonderkind? I don't know. Maybe.
Did he allow Fulmer to throw that curveball more, those secondary pitches more? Maybe.
He was, you know, Fulmer was trying to break out the curveball a little more last year as well. Yeah. Just, you know, he just needed something else. It still doesn't look all that great. The metrics on it are okay. Like when he throws a good one, I think it's there for him. But you know, the slider and the changeup have both looked good, and as long as the velocity kind of keeps ticking up like this. That new delivery, you know, a little bit short in stride hurts him as far as extension goes, but it might help him in terms of command. You know, he looks a little bit more like in control when he's throwing. So, you know, as he gets used to that stuff, you know, the new delivery and kind of seeing how his arm feels as he builds it back up, you know, maybe we'll still have some good days ahead for Mr. Fulmer, even perhaps still as a starter. Although for right now, I'm pretty content with how they're using him. It's all right.
I got to tell you, I was fortunate enough to go to the game today and see Michael Fulmer come running out of the bullpen, and it gave me flashes of Ricky Vaughn. It really. I've been telling you guys, he's born to be a reliever, and I think he really is. He's going to start really embracing coming in. And he was unlucky today. He had a ball bounce off the base and then like a bloop line drive. It probably went in the books as a line drive, but it was not solid contact. He was unlucky. But I love seeing him coming in with two guys on and trying to get out of an inning. I feel like he's really going to embrace those high leverage situations, and I think he's going to be a beast back there. But I'm not down with the curveball. Fastball changeup. Changeup for me.
Well, in relief, he's not going to he shouldn't need the curveball. But yeah, you know, I mean, Norris. there we go. Norris kind of has similar vibes. You know, Norris is like a high energy, like muscle car. There's not necessarily a lot of control, but there's a lot of energy. And Michael Fulmer was the same kind of guy. And that is sort of a, psychologically, that's sort of the relief profile, a guy who can get amped, all the way to 10 and come right into the game and be there. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how he goes. I mean, when we got Fulmer, a lot of people thought he was going to be a reliever. And it wasn't until he found the changeup in 16 that it started looking like, okay, yeah, maybe this guy is a legit, really good starting pitcher, or at least maybe like a 2 or 3 starting pitcher. So yeah, if that works out that way too, that's fine. We're at the point with Fulmer, just like we are with Norris and Boyd, where he's going to be a free agent soon anyway. So you better figure something out for him and lock him in there.
Yeah, I think the toughest thing will be for him to learn to have a reliever's memory, a short memory.
Yeah,
because you come out, you're all amped up, you make some good pitches, you get beat. You might have to come back out the next day and in a similar situation and make some pitches, but we'll see.
Yeah, watching Phil Koch in his natural environment right there is just a beautiful thing.
Just a good tell of a man. I think to go look for Todd Coffee.
I think Fulmer
pointing up.
Fulmer, it's a pretty simple theory. I mean, if you watched him last outing, I actually was DMing Brandon because the command was so good. The outing that he threw 3 innings.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen command that quality since 2016, swear. And he was very, very good. And if he's going to locate pitches and throw 94, 96 plus, he's going to get people out, period. And if he's going to be 2-0 and throw crummy spinners that sit in the middle of the plate, he's going to be what he was last year, which was the single most hittable pitcher in Major League Baseball. And he was the single most hittable pitcher in Major League Baseball last year. So,
and of course, still coming back from Tommy John. Let's just, so we just throw that out there too, so people will be a little bit patient. Yep.
Yeah, second year always shows that the coming back from Tommy John's a better year. Just saying.
You have said this to me all winter, and kudos to you because he is now he hit 96.7 today, which color me surprised, but God bless him.
And when he started throwing that hard again, he started looking angry. He started looking like Michael Fulmer, like this big bull just coming right at you. And yeah, it's a beautiful sight to see. I mean, the other messed up thing is that all these guys are so damn likable. I can't even get down on them the way, sometimes I might want to. Like, I mean, Matt Boyd's like he's a saint, he walks around dispensing alms to the poor. Daniel Norris is out there, surfing the coast, doing good deeds, I'm sure, all off season. I mean, we'd love to see these guys all work out. So yeah, but Fulmer's just that dude, he's a fun guy to watch pitch when he's right. He's got the mentality you wish every single pitcher had. And so we'll just have to give him some time here and hope for the best.
I mean, he can rock a tank top pretty good too, apparently.
Yeah. Hey, Key.
Yeah.
Were the hitters in getaway mode today, or how did Mize throw when he threw 4 pretty solid innings before the 5th? So tell me what you saw.
First of all, you got a Al Bundy setup going on over there.
Yes.
Mize, I thought Mize looked very sharp today. He wasn't what he was in Dunedin the other night, but I don't know if I've ever seen Mize look as good as he did in Dunedin the other night. Even when he threw his no-hitter, it was framed as an audition, and he responded, and he kind of had this look on his face like, I've got a plan and there's nothing you can do about it, to every hitter, right? It was nasty. And he had a little bit of that today. He was working very quickly, very confidently. I thought he executed his pitches. There was one pitch he gave up to, was it Adames, I think, who smoked an off-speed pitch of some sort. I don't know what it was.
Adames will clock a mistake, brother.
Yeah, and I didn't think that was a really bad pitch, honestly. I mean, it was an off-speed pitch and he stayed right on it in a fastball count. I don't know what it looked like on your end. I didn't have a great angle, but
no TV, no radio today.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Much like most of this season for the Tigers. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought he changed speeds very effectively. It was hard to see his location from my vantage point. I was kind of like first base side, but throw in the four seam fastball effectively too. And what I like about it is he's getting better at throwing that where he wants to throw it, and we don't want that anywhere in the hitting zone, really. I mean, we want you to be around the zone with that pitch necessarily, but he's learning when to throw it, and more importantly, he's learning where he can throw that four seam fastball effectively without getting hammered.
Yeah, one of the saving graces for his two really bad outings against the Phillies and then the Jays is that most of the damage was done on just some bullshit pitches. Like just a curveball that hung literally in the center of the plate to was it Alejandro Kirk, maybe? I can't remember who hit that one.
Yeah, I think Guerrero and somebody, I forget, back to back.
Gregorius was a breaking ball right down the middle, and it was I think it was a 2-strike count. And then he had Harper down 0-2, threw a fastball that was supposed to be in on his hands that leaked right back over the center, belt high. Like when you do that, you get what you deserve. So it didn't say too much about like his stuff. It just said, you've got to know when to miss. And some of it, and that I think that's a big part of the process too. In almost every sport, whether or not you're a quarterback, learning to lead receivers and learning to throw it where only your guy can get it. There's all those sort of, you try to be perfect, but you also have to develop an understanding of where your miss is. And that applies to golf or any other damn sport, really. You're not going to be perfect. You have to know where you can miss and where you can't, and start missing badly less. It's okay to miss, but you can't miss there.
And the really good lineups expose that. So like Austin Meadows today, I thought he made a great pitch to Austin Meadows, and that ball landed on the warning track, like up against the wall in left field. You're like, man, that's a great pitch. You got a great hitter out, but that's 5 feet from being over the yard. Like that's how good major league hitters are.
The major league hitters, dude, they don't. I think Bruce Fields once taught me. He goes, in AAA, 2 out of 5 times, if you make a mistake in the middle of the plate, they hit a bullet somewhere. He goes, in the major leagues, 9 out of 10 times they hit a bullet somewhere when you make a mistake that's in the hitting zone. So there's major league hitters do not miss mistakes. They do not. And you pay for it. It doesn't matter how good you've been the previous 5 innings. You leave the ball in the middle of the plate, they are going to tattoo it. So
it's beautiful.
There you go. Nice. It looks good. What do you think? I wish I had that much hair.
Do we want to touch on Matthew's question real quick, where the home runs are going to come from?
Yes, let's do that. I got out of hand there.
Yeah.
Where the home run's going to come from?
I don't know who wants to go first. I've got an opinion, but I think we'll probably all.
Yeah, I've got plenty to discuss on this topic.
Yeah. All right, go for it, Kenon.
Yeah, go for it.
They're not going to hit many home runs.
No, well, somebody had posed the question on Twitter earlier this week, like who's the most likely to hit 25 home runs for the Tigers? And I mean, I think it's obviously somebody who's done it before, which would be Scope, and the other guy who's done it before is Renato Nunez and didn't make the active squad coming out of spring training. So those two guys are probably still the most, even though Nunez isn't on the opening day roster, he's probably second behind Scope most likely. But several people said Willie Castro.
There you go.
That's highly unlikely. I mean, I love Willie Castro.
Why don't we do this, Key? All right, okay. Let's walk around the 8 positions and let's give a ceiling of how many home runs you think the person at that position is going to hit. It's a simple answer.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Well, okay, but that's but wait. Okay, but that's like 5 of us times 9.
No,
it's a long segment, bro.
Well, but let me say this to you. The answers to this question are not very difficult. So let's all let's rotate around the 8 hitters, and
you can do over unders.
Can give an answer.
Good idea, Chris. Do over unders. There you go.
There you go.
All right.
So Grossman, left field, leadoff. Over under how many?
20.
20. I'll take the over.
Under.
I'll go over.
So wait. Hold on. So Keen, you got under?
Yeah.
Brandon?
Significantly.
I'll say over.
Okay. Chris?
Under 16.
Mark?
Under 15.
Okay. I'm gonna go with over, just barely.
You want a number? I'll give it a 24.
Ooh,
nice.
I'll just go exactly 20. I'll go Barry Sanders, just number 20.
Center field.
Oh,
Jacoby Jones.
Who's my center fielder?
Ooh.
Just collectively.
Oh yeah, there we go. Collectively, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you're asking who's going to hit. You're going to hit homers. So I mean, I
know, but playing time.
By the way,
playing time has to come into it.
If we're doing it collectively at the position, center field's going to hit a lot of homers probably for us. I mean, he might only hit
Jacoby and Victor Reyes.
Hit some homers.
All right, look. Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's do Victor Reyes.
Homers from center field.
All right, Victor Reyes and Jacoby Jones combined.
And Akil Badu.
Okay.
Well, all right. Badu as a center fielder.
Badu as a center fielder. I'm gonna go with 10.
No, I'm saying collectively. How many home runs?
Confused.
From center field?
18 tops.
30.
wow.
I'm going to say 25. And I don't even love that, but I'll say 25.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
You know what? Jed's. Oh, we got Jed here.
Nice.
Jed.
Jed!
Although I can't see his. There he is.
Oh, hey, all right. How we doing?
Jed Oliver from England.
He's got the map behind him too. Oh, I hear myself in the headphones, but
Oh yeah, we got a little mix issue. I think I can't hear Jed too well.
Is it working?
there we go. Did he say something?
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo.
There's a little bit of an echo, yeah.
Okay.
This is all experimental, folks.
Okay, so all right, I'm gonna mute his mic for now. I'm gonna mute his mic for now until we get that all straightened out.
Okay.
Let's see here. You said you said 25.
What do you got, Chris?
I'm gonna go 17.
Okay.
Honestly, that sounds better to me now.
I said 18. Yeah, I don't see where you guys are getting these home runs from.
All right, I'm going to say that collectively center fielders. I got 25. I mean, I got Jacoby hitting 17 by himself.
Jacoby's okay.
I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If each of them is getting 250 plate, well, and they're not. Let's say they're each getting 220 plate appearances. Jacoby Jones is probably going to hit 5, 6, maybe 7 at most. I mean, you're probably looking at like, if I really think about it that way, I'm thinking more like 18 myself, maybe 20.
Okay. Right field.
Ooh.
Mazzara and Badu.
And Reyes.
And Reyes, yeah, again. I don't know. I mean, I'll say 15 because I don't want to bet on Mazzara figuring it out. I mean, I kind of think Mazzara is probably going to end up getting cut, by June. I'm hoping for more, but I'm not thrilled about it. And so you're probably going to have a lot of Victor Reyes playing there because they're not going to play Badu there.
We are so jaded. Go ahead.
I mean, Jacoby's got 30 in his life. First of all,
yeah.
And he's been here for like 9 years.
Yeah, but he's still only got 700 plate appearances.
7 years.
It is bizarre. So you're down. I think Mazzara is going to hit his standard 20 home runs. I'm going to take 27 out of right field.
Okay.
I'm with Kenon there, Chris.
I got 16 again. Give me 10 from Rosario and 3 from Reyes and 3 from Daz Cameron.
Yep.
Hey.
You know what?
Jacoby is projected to hit 14 by Zips in 116 games.
Under.
You know what? Look, I'm just gonna throw this wild card in there as for my center field idea that Derek Hill comes up and hits a couple, gets everybody all hyped up, and then just fades back down. That's where
but produces 20 defensive runs saved.
Yes.
Derek Hill.
Yeah, no, because Derek Hill has that he's changed his swing to hit more home runs, and so I think that all that work is if he gets an opportunity, if the outfield struggles and Derek Hill gets a chance, 5 or 6 home runs, everybody gets all excited, and then it just.
Yeah. From your lips to his ears, yes.
I'm not the first of
and
all.
Jake Rogers as well.
I can promise you that Hinch wanted to take Derek Hill because in a lot of ways that's Jake Marisnick reincarnated in many ways.
Yeah.
And Jake Marisnick served A.J. Hinch very well for a few years in Houston, to say the least. But ironically, you guys, just in the discussion, collectively, you got about 60 home runs from your outfield, which is kind of shocking, right? All right, so third base, over and under.
That's why I don't trust it.
Yeah, over under how many at third base?
Oh man.
Over
under. We'll start at 20. At 20, over under 20.
Meets that.
Under.
I'm going to take the under, but not. It's very close.
Yeah, I almost want to take 20. Yeah,
I'll take over. I'll take over on that.
Chris.
Yeah, I'll take over as well.
Yeah, I was thinking 22 or 18, and you 20. So what the hell am I going to do? I guess.
Yeah,
I'll
18.
go.
Shortstop.
Ooh.
20.
16.
Willie's got some pop, y'all. Don't even worry.
I know he does. He doesn't have 25 home run pop though.
Oh, he does.
Give him his due.
He does. I don't know if he has enough contact to hit 25 home runs.
Yeah.
But he has the power to easily hit 25 home runs.
Nope.
He's going to
I
break the
think they get 15 home runs out of shortstop, and don't forget that Goodrum's going to play some shortstop too.
Yeah.
And so is Zach Short, by the way.
Oh, you know what? Then I'm gonna.
Correct.
You know what? I'm gonna go over 20 then.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is we're going to get to first base and DH, and then we're going to be like 5.
Yeah. Second base.
Yeah.
Second base. Ooh.
Scope.
Scope.
So
Oh yeah, scope. Yeah, scope. Okay, so over.
20.
You know what? Over. You know what? Let's raise the stakes a little bit. Over 25. Yes or no?
yeah, we should get 25 out of the position. I don't
Yeah.
know how many Scope will hit, but
Yeah.
if Sock comes up and plays there some too, he'll hit a few.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go closer to. I'm gonna go over 25. That's what my guess is gonna be.
Yeah. For the position, I think Scope hits about 23, more or less, and then probably a handful from Goodrum.
Yeah. That
That's
sounds
First
about right.
base.
So far, second base is probably our most powerful position.
Yep.
So first base.
That's not good, I don't think.
First base.
The problem is too. Let me just throw this in there. I mean, we are thinking about guys playing like the full season, like everything working out. If we end up with 180 home runs racked up here, people are going to laugh at us, and I'm going to agree with them.
I'm not laughing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
First base, 10.
10.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
I'm well over that.
Yeah. I'll go up to 15 for that. No, you know what? No. Okay. You know what? No, screw that. I'm gonna go 25. I think if Nunez comes up,
Nunez will come back, sure.
yeah, he'll come up. He'll rake, and that's all he can do. I mean,
Jamer's going to play over there.
that's true as well. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Screw it. I'll stick with over 25. I'll
like
be
it.
optimistic. Yeah, I'm not. I'll be optimistic about first base.
I got 16.
All right, that's fair.
I was thinking 15. I don't know how much Cabrera's going to play, and I don't trust him to stay healthy, unfortunately.
I think Scope's going to play more first base than you guys are planning on.
Yeah.
No, I think that's probably true. But
Yeah.
then I'm putting, Nico at second, less home run power there, just kind of rounding it all down to where it's like, 20 just about everywhere except at first base and maybe DH.
All right, catcher.
10.
20, 17. I don't know.
I don't know. The Ogre's looking pretty healthy and strong this spring.
You can hit.
No, I meant Griner.
He meant Grinder.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd say like 15 there. Yeah. Yeah.
I like 17.
15.
I went with
I'm gonna
10.
I'm gonna go with 15. Around. Yeah.
10.
Around
Was
there.
that 10, Chris?
Yeah, I don't trust Ramos to play much, actually.
All
I think
right.
he's-
You're forgetting one spot. DH.
Oh, all right. Let's see here. DH. So it's a collective.
It's kind of like first base. Like our range could be anywhere from 10 to 25.
All right.
And
Well,
not more than
here's the real question. Okay, when Miguel's playing first base, who do you think is going to DH? Is it going to be Mazzara? Is it going to be
Everyone.
Grossman there? Or is it going to be Harold Castro because we need someone who can handle the bat?
Oh, God, no.
That swing. His perfect swing.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a little bit of everyone, but I would bet Mazzara is the second most common DH.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I'll go 20 then. 20, or is that too generous?
I think Cabrera hit 20 himself.
I think Miggy hits 16.
If he stays healthy, he might hit 20, but I don't believe,
Yeah, he's going to play first base. He's going to, he's going to wear down a little bit more, and probably have to sit some, and then maybe get hurt. You have to factor that in if you're actually doing, projections. Like I don't think anybody would project Miguel Cabrera for 650 plate appearances this year. No projection system is going to buy that at his age and with his injury history. But yeah, I mean, I think Miggy, if Miggy's healthy, he could hit 20. Miggy's still probably like top 25 in average exit velocity. It's just been a problem lifting the ball. And that we kind of tied back to his right knee. And he seemed to show some signs of life last year. But yeah, I mean, I'd rather, if Miguel Cabrera has that one last great season in him, I'm going to love it as much as anybody. I'm going to be thrilled. But yeah, I mean, you got to figure probably like 12 to 15 home runs, 400 plate appearances, 450 maybe.
So
I'll go 13.
We're at about 175 to 180 home runs collectively for the lineup.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me because as we went along, I kept thinking like, nope, this is too much. because what we always do, what we do every season is everyone does this because you can't think of all the things that are going to happen. You assign 650 plate appearances to the 9 best players, and it just doesn't work out like that. So I'm sure it'll be less than that. I mean, if the Tigers hit 160 home runs, I'd be quite pleased with that, especially with the ball, chemically deadened by MLB with such fine degrees of gradient that, they can take off 3 feet of carry on it. It's going to be amazing, guys.
Well, so I'm looking at 2019, and 180 home runs was 25th in the majors.
Oh, was it? Yeah, okay.
Tigers hit 149 that year.
Okay.
So
I feel better about it then.
I feel good about the 180 as a number. I think they got a much better team than they did in 2019 because they couldn't have a worse team.
That is the truth. They do have a better team than they did then. I forget how many damn home runs are going out. I still have like my averages are all still wrong from like 2018.
let me throw this in the mix. Because since 2017, so the last 3 full seasons, there were none in 2020. Obviously, there weren't enough games, but there were 202 25-plus home run seasons in all of Major League Baseball. So divided by 30 teams, that's almost 7 per franchise.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 full seasons. Do you know how many the Tigers have since 2017?
0.
There's 1.
Is there?
I thought it was 2016, or was it 2017?
2017.
Was it Miguel Cabrera?
It was Nicholas Castellanos hit 26 home runs. I think it was 26 home runs. So the one guy who's actually hit this milestone is no longer on the team. We brought in now. We do have 2 guys on the team who have done it. We do have 2 guys on the team who have done it. That's Scope and Nunez. Well, we have one guy in the org who's done it. But look at the AL Central. The Indians have 8 25-plus home run seasons over that span.
Mm-hmm.
Since 2017.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Right.
The White Sox and Royals have 6 25-plus home run seasons. The Twins have 9 25-plus home run seasons. Like, that's how far behind the Tigers are in the power category. And this isn't the year. We might have a 25 home run guy this year. To me, if it is, it's most certainly going to be Scope, and that's it.
I mean, that's what it kind of comes down to. There's a lot of guys who I could see hitting 20 on this team.
Drive in a deep left
maybe a
field
little
by
over, maybe a little under.
It will be a home run.
That'd be good. That'd be all right.
Good job, Raj.
Nice, Raj. Cutting that in there. I meant to make a Nick Castellanos reference when we were talking about Jacoby Jones because of how much he reminds me of like the poor version of young Nick before Nick kind of put it together. It's just, you're going to get, that 3-week period every 2 months where he just goes nuts. Too many pitchers are throwing him fastballs. He goes ham on you, and then he goes right back in the tank. And, he's been better the past year, but he still looks like that type of hitter to me. So, but if Jacoby Jones hit 20 home runs, I wouldn't be shocked. He's got plus power as well. It's just about making enough hard contact. So,
closer.
I'm gonna go with Jose Cisnero. I think Cisnero, in terms of his stuff, I think he's 31, 32. I think he's 32 this year. He's gonna be 32, and just because his strikeout ratio is higher, and I think also because at the same time, I think Gregory Soto's still figuring out his slider grip. I think it's gonna take him some time, but I think Cisnero to start the season. At some point, Soto will take over based off of his he's left-handed, electric stuff, but I think those two combined will be the team's closer. But I think Jose deserves a shot because the Tigers have 5 relief arms that are like multi-inning arms, and Cisneros is the only one. Him and Soto. I mean, Soto's used to be a starter, but he's doing the transition. That's where I think they'll start with, but that's just me.
I think Cisneros makes the most sense as closer to me right now too. If I had to pick one, and it doesn't sound like AJ is going to be too strict about it. So he may mix things up a little bit. I could see using Derek Holland if he's actually going to continue to pitch this well, because you've got all these damn lefties. You've got 4 lefties, 3 of whom are converted from starting. You don't need all of them to go 2 and 3 innings every time out. So maybe they could try Derek Holland if he's actually going to pitch like this. But yeah, Cisneros kind of seems like the right guy because he's a veteran. He's been through the battles. He's fought all the way back from being out of the game for a couple years. And he's got his stuff. He's throwing 97, 96. The slider looks good. He's kind of, tamed most of the control issues. He's still not like, pinpoint command guy, that's for sure. But yeah, to me, he makes pretty comfortably the most sense. I still think for me, Gregory Soto is still the guy who I'm just going to run out there against another team's, 2 or 3 best lefties in their lineup when we're holding the lead. Like I'm just going to use them like that, no matter what.
Key, what do you got?
I think
Doesn't have to be lefties.
Well, I just think it's kind of funny that AJ's like, I don't like to give titles to guys. Like I don't want to lock guys into roles, but nobody had a problem when it was Ken Giles or Roberto Osuna. Like this talk is like it's PR speak for like I don't have a clue what to do with this collection.
I think, by the way, I think he's got a plan. What do you got? What do you got?
No, I mean I think he's got a plan, but when he says that publicly, it's like I really don't have a closer yet, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's Soto.
What do you got, Chrissy?
Yeah, it's interesting. They talked about I've heard on the radio and on podcast that Gregory Soto really, really wants to be the closer. Like he desperately wants that job. He wants to be the guy getting the saves. But I do think that he might get that role where he is coming in the most high leverage situations, regardless of the inning, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. I think Cisneros is most likely. Soto may take over, and then with Kenon here, let's not rule out Michael Fulmer at some point.
Yeah,
I don't think we should disregard the Fulmer idea. I think it is not primary; it's secondary. I think it's a little more insidiously clever than what any of you have said, and here's what I mean. Look. I think that the closer will in an early way will be Cisneros, not only because of the stuff, but if he's good, he's by far the most dealable piece they'll have. They could actually get something legitimately decent for him in a trade at the break, especially if he's saving games and throwing.
Soto is the most valuable commodity they could possibly have if he could close. But
yes.
Carry on. Okay.
Because I really think, in a big picture sense, and this is the way Hinch is going to look at it, is he wants Soto to close. But if your idea is to create value in Cisneros, and when you deal him, have Soto close, that's a pretty solid plan. That's a pretty mature plan. It's actually way too smart of a plan for Al Avila, but maybe not too smart for AJ Hinch. So it wouldn't shock me if that's what the big picture plan was. Plans go awry, but it's a plan that makes a lot of sense. So I think Cisneros will start, they'll trade him, and then Soto will close after, sometime in July. So that's my thought.
I can see that.
I mean, the original idea too that we talked about this in our chat before about even it sounds kind of strange to think about that, but I mean, I know that Jose does not like to go to the bullpen. He wants to start, but having him as a closer is a possibility.
That's a good idea too, Raj.
I mean, honestly, like it's just because
it's just tough though when you don't strike out a lot of guys.
That's what I was just gonna say because his numbers in high leverage situations are awful. Like when I was looking it up. for my bullpen piece, just kind of looking at his numbers, it's like he's not good in high leverage situations, which is where.
And he's had as much experience as Mike Pelfrey in high leverage situations. Like those dudes live in traffic, they pitch in traffic all day long. They're comfortable, but yeah, he just doesn't have the stuff to strike people out, and that just scares everyone to death. Todd Jones, struck out more guys than Urania does, but it still scared us that he was kind of a pitch to contact type closer. So
can we all agree it's not Brian Garcia?
Yes.
Yeah, not this year. No, something more is going to have to come along. Yeah.
If Brian Garcia is the closer, they're gonna lose 105 games.
I want Daniel Norris closer.
I don't have a problem with that, by the way.
Yeah,
it might be fun, but no, I mean, I think what's interesting though is just that throughout all of the sabermetric community, there's been like a 10-year debate about why are they still using a closer? Why are they so rigorous about locking this one guy into this role? And it doesn't matter who you talk to. It didn't matter if it was Ron Gardenhire. Doesn't matter if it was AJ Hinch. They all uniformly believe that it serves their guys best to know that they're going to pitch that inning in that situation if they can work it that way. If they need a guy to be flexible, they will. But smartest guys in the game all still, seem to come down to that psychological element where knowing that you're the closer and that you're the guy to do that job is important to it. And so who am I to argue with that?
The reason why I'm showing Mitch Williams throwing is because sometimes Daniel Norris throws off when he throws off the mound like that, or he comes off the mound, sometimes collapses.
He's all closed off.
Yeah,
and reminds the leg kick.
Yeah, and it reminds me of Mitch Williams for whatever reason. That if you look at right here, when Norris comes off, this is a little extreme.
That's wild extension.
Yeah, extension. Sometimes Daniel Norris comes off the same way, so that's the only reason why I threw that in there in the hopper. If you're watching this on, the stream, but Daniel Norris is a good idea too, Brandon. I think he had one of the highest strikeouts per 9 among the Tigers bullpen last year, and so he's got the stuff for it. And I think he has that kind of makeup for it.
Yeah, I think he comes out there with his hair on fire too, and would like it. He might be a little too home run prone. That might be what it comes down to. It's just that Cisnero, when he's right, doesn't seem to get barreled. And when Daniel makes a bad pitch, Daniel will get barreled sometimes.
So let me ask you, how many good trades in the Avila era?
Total?
How many trades has he made that you look back, you go, that was a pretty good deal?
4.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, well, we got the Candelario
Paredes deal.
Right.
Willie Castro, that's
Wait
2.
a second.
Yeah.
That trade was for who?
Leonis Martin.
No. The trade for Candelario and Paredes was for who?
Avila, Justin Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then you have the Willie Castro deal. Okay. All right. That was for Leonis Martin. Then you got what other deals do people like?
I like the Joey Wentz. We still haven't seen him pitch, but I think
what was that? What was that deal for?
Shane Green for Joey Wentz and Travis Demerit, and then Brett's already gone.
So
my point is, look, Al Avila has difficulty making deals.
Actually, Chad Green for Justin Wilson actually turned out pretty well. It wasn't just Chad Green, though, was it? It was Sessa, too, for Justin Wilson?
Yeah,
that worked out well.
But my point being that, his best deals come when the other team is under duress, okay? And it's come trading de facto closers on 37% win baseball teams. And
well, the impression you get of Al Avila as a trader is that he asked for the moon in these deals and just uniformly gets kind of laughed at. And then once in a while, like a team like the Indians is like, oh boy, we really like Leonis Martin.
We need that guy, or we have a surplus at this position. Okay.
Yeah. Which if you're not a good trader, that's not a bad strategy to take. Like, I'm only going to make trades that I know I'm going to win. But you and I both live in terror of GMs who are afraid to make trades and afraid of their own evaluative abilities.
Correct.
And their faith in themselves to outdeal someone. But he hasn't got them wrong since 17. But the ones that he got wrong in 17 have held us back. All the last 4 years. I mean, that's kind of I keep saying it's the original sin of the rebuild, to not get anything from Verlander or JD Martinez
or Ian Kinsler.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, Ian Kinsler wasn't all that valuable.
Right. No, I'm not. Yeah, you're right. But my point is if you're not afraid to make a bad trade, you're probably never going to make a good trade. So,
yeah.
But my point is he's had some resume value dealing closers. So my answer goes back to what I said before.
Yeah.
Let's take the most dealable commodity and let him close, enhance his value intrinsically, and then try to get value for him because you have a closer sitting right behind him in Soto. So
yeah.
That's what smart teams that kind of have a plan do. So,
right, and Soto's the guy that you've got way more control over. Has the the Wild thing, the better stuff, but also the command problem. So he does make sense as the guy to sort of like slow play as maybe the next man up, and I could see that. I mean, I could see Jacoby Jones being the same way. Like you could argue Jacoby Jones doesn't deserve to get the bulk of the playing time in center field out of the gate, but what you would like to do with Jacoby Jones now that he's 28, almost 29 years old, is catch him in a hot streak and flip him for something to a team that wants him as a fourth outfielder, to use him as kind of a, as a utility knife, and a guy who, when he's hot can do some damage for you.
And I think
trying to maximize that value on some of those guys does make sense. I just don't know if AJ Hinch is going to think that way or if it's still just going to be, I've got to get the best I can out of my team on a daily basis. I don't know.
All right, so let's touch on AJ Hinch because I brought something up and we've talked about it in the chat, which is it's a totally different way of managing players now than it has been previously, which is I love what he did with Fulmer today. He didn't have to do it. He could have let Mize pitch out of it. His pitch count was low. Yeah. But he brought Fulmer in for a specific reason, which was I'm bringing you in a high leverage situation. I want you to come in. I want to see what you do. I want to see how you execute your pitches. Cole, I want to see what happens. And what I like to reference this as is he doesn't baby players. He makes them accountable, and it's a performance-based type of situation that he throws players in. He's expecting them to perform. Okay, it's not a perform or you're here, but when you get called on, you better have a little something and show a little something because there's people behind you. And I think this is how he managed in Houston, and he had a lot of success with it. I mean, he stuck with Bregman when Bregman was like 1 for 20, but that's that's Bregman.
Alex Bregman was exactly.
My point is though, I love the air of accountability. Okay, it's a different way of doing things. I think that when you guys were talking about Fetter. I mean, first of all, if you talk to anybody that knows Fetter well, and I mean Cody knows Fetter pretty well. Fetter really prides himself on sequencing, and if you talk to the Michigan pitchers, his game plans and his sequencing were really one of the hallmarks of his skill at Michigan. Now, this is the major leagues. It's a whole different ballgame. We'll see how well it translates, but let's hope it does. But when you ask me about the entire situation between Fetter and Lombard and Hinch, it reminds me of a hot dog vendor with a cart on the corner and going into Lafayette. It's a big difference between the two operations. Okay, one's an operation, one's a guy in the corner with a cart. And the Tigers reminded me of a guy in the corner with a cart before, and now they're in operation with a plan every single day, after day.
Yeah. Sometimes that guy just standing there with a little home grill's got the best dog, though. You never know. I know what you're saying. And I also, one of the things that stood out to me was how he kept piggybacking Lang after Joe Jimenez. And whether or not anybody said anything specific, it was a lot like, outpitch that guy and it's going to work out for you. And as it turned out, it didn't work out for either of them. But it felt like rather than giving Joe Jimenez anything this spring, it was like, it's a new staff here. You've got to come in and you've got to produce. You've got to be effective every time. Not just like when you're feeling it. when everything's in sync. And, and there's this young kid here, Alex Lang, who's suddenly kind of popped on the scene. Stuff's looking really good. So we're going to have him come in for you when you're fucking it up and, put runners on base. That's the kind of thing. Rather, we used to talk about like putting players in positions to succeed and how that's a good thing sometimes. But then the other thing is to put them in a tough situation and expect them to succeed and believe in them to succeed. And if they don't, well, they didn't, but you didn't baby them. You just put them in that spot where they should succeed if they're going to be a major leaguer and you trusted them. And sometimes that probably works better for guys than, we're trying to find like the perfect spot in the lineup to make you feel good about yourself. And, we told you we want you to throw your slider more and you're scared to. And so we're going to give you the back of this, this order that is basically, their AAA lineup in the 9th inning and kind of let you work on it. AJ Hinch, he's going to put you in the fire and say, show me what you got. And we've seen a bit of that already, I'd say, this spring.
Yeah. And
I just want to say something real quick because we know that Hinch was a psychology major, right? And I think I don't think he's like a Svengali out there, but I think he does do things.
And a catcher,
to test. There were a couple times this spring where he put pitchers back on the mound after I was sure they were done. And I think they thought they were done too. He probably told them once they got back in the dugout. But one time it was Skubal and one time it was Soto, maybe Mize too.
Yeah, they had Mize get up like for 1 out. Yeah, one time. I remember that.
He would just have them go out there, and they I think Skubal and Soto both walked a guy, and he pulled them. But I think it was just to test, like, hey, you thought you were done. I want to see what else you can do. Like if you can go a little bit farther and learn something about yourself. And I think that was. I don't think he was, trying to hurt their arms or anything like that. I think it was totally a mental thing, and it's just interesting to see him do stuff like that all spring. I didn't even pick up on the Jimenez Lang thing. That was really hard.
And he also seems to like that because it makes you get up that one more time. It's just it's not that you're going to go out there and throw another 20 pitches, but whether or not you knew you were going in, okay, you've got to ramp it up again. Here you are. Can you do it? And it also lets him now bring the reliever in without the clean inning. Which is what he wants. Which I also think, he wants. He wants to see you just come in with some crap going on and deal with it. So,
well, conversely, interestingly, with Mize, he got hammered by Toronto.
He did.
But his stuff was good. Okay.
Yeah, the stuff has been bananas. I mean, if you told us all 2 years ago that he was going to be huffing 98, I think we would have all been like, oh shit, maybe he's even better than we thought.
But my point about this is he got hammered, and it was the 3rd straight time he got hammered, okay? But his stuff was pretty good, and he said that instead of kind of, expressing frustration, let's say. And the next 2 times, how did he throw?
Well, even his approach with Paredes and some of the younger guys, and before we wrap it up, I mean, that's where I wanted to kind of leave it as. Right now you have a situation where in terms of like the young, like the Ass Cameron, those guys, I thought even the way he handled Jake Rogers too, those guys are kind of, especially Jake Rogers too. It's just he's on his last legs, but I thought he said enough to where go, we'll see what happens here, and there's no guarantees or anything. And the Grayson Griner, Jake Rogers backup competition is, I think you said like just yawn fest. No one's going to really be, if everybody's complaining about the backup catcher, then you have other problems to worry about, because that, to me, it's inconsequential. To me, it's more about the rotation and the other parts of the lineup. But I thought the way he handled Paredes and just explaining that too, the whole process behind it, like, look, I like this guy a lot, but there's just really right now, he kind of needs to get regular at bats. And I think he's absolutely right. If he was a way to put him on there, it would have been great. And not to even, and I thought it was a foregone conclusion Nunez, based off his power numbers, would be here, but he's not. And they lucked out with that. And I think that works out well. But yeah, it was terrible at first. I mean,
I mean, he was just late, I mean, Nunez has only been in camp for like 2 weeks, which is why for me, when they were ready to opt him out and keep Harold Castro and Victor Reyes both, I was not happy.
Yeah.
If you're just going to do this, you should have signed a fucking first baseman. Chris, is Tyler Flowers still available?
He is. And people randomly I wrote an article about Tyler Flowers, 2 months ago, and a couple times now it's caught fire again somehow.
Yeah. No, I'm dead serious. I'm going to look at the traffic numbers right now before we get out of here. And Tyler Flowers this week alone, is number 9 in terms of page views. And that article came out 2 months ago, Chris. 2 months ago.
At least, yeah.
2 months ago, number 9 among all this. We've put out quite a bit of articles at Motor City Bengals, and he's number 9. I don't get it. Like, I'll randomly text Chris at 10:30 at night. We'll be watching sports or something, or we're watching the basketball tournament the other night. We're watching Michigan, and all of a sudden I'm nowhere. I'm like, what the hell is Tyler Flowers trending on? Because I have the analytics up. I have the analytics because I'm always. If you want to ask me anytime about any of the traffic, I literally can pull it up like that because I'm obsessed. Like we have a certain number. No offense, Brandon. I can't really get into the traffic numbers right now, but it's all good. But
I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours.
Well,
I wanted to say one more thing about the psychological aspect, and you can kind of bring it way back to what we first started on. When you think about Spencer Torkelson, Hinch just kept sending him out there. I mean, he played a lot for a guy who's had 0 major league experience. And what happened in his final at bat of the spring? Kenon saw it in person. It was his best contact of the whole spring, easily 410 feet. He didn't hit it out, but he hit it hard. And he's going to leave spring training with that feeling. And I think it worked out luckily for Hinch, but I think that's kind of what he was going for. He just wanted Torkelson to get the feel of getting a hold of the ball again before he went back into the salt mines.
Yep, I think that's probably true, man.
All right, how many wins?
I'll say 72. I like this pitching staff better maybe than most. I kind of hate the offense, but Tarek Skubal's going to be rookie of the year, and this Julio Teheran looks awesome. Matt Boyd's not going to give up as many dingers, and they're going to pitch okay, and then they're going to trade a couple guys at the deadline, and then we'll just suck in September like usual. But we're very comfortable with that. I'm used to it.
Key, real quick before we get out of here, how many wins?
I think it's a 100-loss team because if anything goes well whatsoever, whoever does well is getting dealt. So anything that pushes them towards being a 69.5 win team, which I think is the over/under right now, is gonna drive that down towards 62-ish. I like a 62-100 team.
We're just gonna call up our studs then, bro.
They're already there.
Hurry, Riley Green.
I gotta cut out. I'm cutting out early, fellas. Had a good time.
All right, Bob.
See ya.
Good to see you.
All right, good to see you. All right, Chris.
I got him with 70. I think 70 is reasonable.
Mark.
Well, I think they go 50 and 60 in the first 110 games. And then in the last 52 games,
1 and 51.
Yeah, no, but I
No,
something like 16 and 36. Okay, so that's how I get to 66 wins.
I keep feeling like there's enough pitching depth to hold this thing through. And yeah, I mean, you got Kenon, and you guys are probably right. They're going to deal a few guys if things go well, and that that's going to cut into it. But I have to believe in this coaching staff a little bit, and I guess maybe I'm being overly optimistic because if you look at the fact that the 3 top pitching prospects are all going to be in the major leagues this year, the Tigers don't believe that they're going to do anything this year, or they would have spent some goddamn money. So I'll leave it at that for the night. Like, if the Tigers believed in themselves, this roster would look a little bit different than it does. And if they win 72 games and the young guys develop, that's probably about as good as we can hope for. Hopefully a deadline deal or two picks us up a decent prospect or two, and yay, we get to draft third again.
I'm going to go with 68. I think 68 is a nice, comfortable number, right under 69. Nice, because I just think that there's going to be some sort of, they're going to start strong a little bit. I think it's going to fade, like Mark was saying in the second half. If they do well, if there's certain players, I think Candelario, dare I even say, Candelario is on the trading block too, because you think about it this way.
Yeah.
Here's why I think that, because if Candelario gets off to a really good start, you have Paredes sitting in AAA who could start at third. It's as simple as that. If they can get some value out of, and I know people are going to like, well, and I hate this comment so much. Why are you going to trade everybody? That's what they do. I'm sorry. Prove me otherwise. Prove me otherwise that they don't trade everybody.
We're not trading a damn thing. Not us personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, anybody who's in arbitration, who anyone will give you a decent prospect for, at this point, you have to trade, because we're, we're arguably at the ground floor, but you could also suggest that we're still kind of just stuck between the basement and the ground floor. There's not a lot coming after, Riley, Torque, and the boys. I like the draft last year. There's some interesting guys, some interesting IFAs, but it's all just lottery tickets until somebody does something this year, other than Cody Clemens, who obviously looks totally awesome now and is going to be a stud this year. Shout out to Ben.
Can I interject a question here, because I had something for sure I wanted to spring on you guys, and it's I want, maybe Chris will answer Chris, did you give your victory total?
Yeah, 70.
All right. So here's what I want to ask you, because I think it's a great segue off this Candelario question. All right. And I'm going to say to you, Raj, that I think they're insane for dealing Candelario, and I'm going to explain to you why. All right, in a question, and I want all of you to take a shot at the answer to this. All right, look around the diamond, including starting pitchers and relief pitchers. At every position, let's take that first, and you can take it as a blanket. Tell me a position where the Detroit Tigers have a player in the top 20 in baseball at their position. First, take all the positions, all 8 positions. Tell me what player is the top 20.
Third base.
No, maybe. Okay.
Maybe shortstop.
Now he plays well, and he's trending for a 3.5 to 4 WAR season. Okay. So now he's maybe between 13 and 16, okay? And he's 27 years old. And he's a switch hitter, and he walks, and he has some power. And he's cheap. Are you dealing with him?
Team leader, too.
Are you dealing with him?
That's what it comes down to, is what are you going to get, right? Like, if I'm going to get, 240, kind of long shot prospects, no. If I can get, another, like Isaac Paredes.
All right, so let's go back to what I asked.
Paredes, then you have to consider it. But yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, because if you're still turning everything over, it's a long way to room.
You have 8 positions. You have 0 players that are in the top 20 at their position. 0. Okay. Now, you take any of your starting pitchers. I don't care who it is, and you can even include Skubal. And be reasonable about Skubal. Don't tell me what he could be. Tell me what he is. All right. And God, we all love Scoobs, right?
Yeah. But he's a wild man still. Sure.
Okay. Tell me is there a starting pitcher they have that's in the top 75 starting pitchers in baseball?
I think Turnbull might be 75th.
Okay. So the answer to that's no.
No, I'm thinking. I mean, my answer is, I think at least 2.
Oh, I'm listening, because you're a pitching guru. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like over bank on Tehran just now, but he might get there as well. But yeah, I mean, I think you'd see Turnbull and Skubal both right around that range, like guys who are highly variable. But if they happen to have just a reasonably good season for who they are right now, yeah, they're number 3 anywhere.
It's comforting we're reaching to get to the 75th best starting pitcher in baseball.
We definitely don't have a top 50 guy. That's for sure.
Okay.
But I do think right around that range we've got a couple guys.
All right. Now, relievers, top 50 in baseball. We got a reliever that's in the top 50 in baseball?
Not right now.
Yeah, no one I can bank on.
The good.
Oh, sorry.
It wouldn't shock me if Soto or Cisnero is there at the end of the year.
Yeah, do I think Cisnero or Soto could both be there? Okay.
Honestly, I was thinking about, you just think about pure like WAR value, and Daniel Norris and Derek Holland could both throw 100 innings out of the bullpen this year, and could be worth like 1.5 WAR just by being an average pitcher.
Here's my point that I'm bringing up to you. Okay.
Yeah.
You're in year 6 of a rebuild. You don't have a top 75 starting pitcher, a top 50 reliever, or a top 20 position player anywhere. You've been tanking for 4 years. You haven't even been able to find anywhere, sign a free agent, sign a secondary player from somewhere else, trade for someone, develop anybody, have a leftover guy. Nothing. You have zero of any of that. Does it concern you?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, no, look, the ultimate thing here is that we are the reason why I get so kind of puzzled look about the optimism about what's going on with the farm system and everything is we don't know outside of Riley Green, outside of
we don't know about Riley Green.
Well, hold on, let me finish. We know that Riley Green can hit the ball hard. We've seen that in spring training, but that's it. You don't know any other variable that's going on. You don't know. We could talk about how all day Brian Packer, who's a hitter, and he's good. We don't know yet. We none of these guys have been in Erie yet. None, and that's the thing that worries me the most is that this is the year where we're gonna go and sit there and say, okay, do they have depth in their system? I still don't think they do. I don't care if you call me a cynic, asshole, whatever. I'm fine with that because, quite frankly, just prove me otherwise. There's no evidence right now. We could talk about all the prospect system rankings you want. Congratulations, you finished second MLB pipeline. But you know what? I still think Toronto's a better and deeper system than you do.
Yeah, see,
to
me, it comes down to it. To me, that just comes to development.
Right.
I mean, I think if I just objectively look at the talent itself as is right now, we actually are in pretty good shape. But if we were Tampa Bay, I would look at BYB's like top 9 through 22 prospect and think like, okay, Tampa Bay would turn one of those position players into a real guy, and they would turn one of those pitchers into a real guy. And we haven't ever done that, and in any time in recent history. And that's where the lack of faith is. It's not
right.
And this is where like context is so important because like we could look at the farm system and say like, yeah, I think the farm system's pretty good now, but yeah, I mean that ain't major leaguers. You still have to turn them into that, and that's the point where we don't have any. You don't have any track record to bank on.
Here's what I was trying to illustrate with the exercise. Okay, we're in a pretty smart division now, believe it or not. I mean, It is. Look at Kansas City, who has been every bit as awful as we have been, right?
Yep.
And let's go back to that top 20 at a position discussion. Okay, so they got Merrifield, right?
Yeah.
He's top 15 at something, if not higher, right?
Yeah, maybe top 10. Yeah, at second base, I would think.
Right.
Yeah.
If for all you want to yell, and you got Sal Perez, who we can debate, but he's a top 15 catcher, is he not?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. If Soler is healthy, what is he? He's a pretty good Tiger hitter. He's a top 20 something. He's going to hit 37 home runs.
Yep, Hunter Dozier.
Yeah, Hunter. I was going to say Hunter Dozier's good.
Mm-hmm. So
they've got young pitching, just like we do.
Maybe
short one arm, maybe short one big arm from us, but that's not much considering how far they're ahead they are in position players. Yeah.
Kansas City's not good, but just
they're interesting.
Yeah.
They have some players of substance. That's what I'm saying to you. We don't have anything of substance. I mean, the most interesting player we have is a super erratic shortstop who we pray catches the ball and throws it to first consistently enough to let him continue to concentrate on being a good offensive player. And, shockingly, he's earned enough respect from me that I think he'll hit 275. Okay. And we could debate that. Kenon, I'm sorry he's not here. He has very little faith in Willie Castro because he thinks his batting average balls in play made him a total mirage. And there's a lot to be. Listen, he was
guaranteed. He's guaranteed that he was a mirage last year, but that doesn't mean he can't post like a 110 WRC plus this year. That's about where I see him. Yep.
The point I'm bringing up is I'm using a team in your division who's bad, and it just seems like they're so much further up the curve than we are, and it's 6 years into it. And what worries me Well, here's what doesn't worry me. For the first time, I actually think they have a manager and a staff that's major league 2021 savvy in baseball tech and how to do things in the player development.
Well, that was what I was going to say. That's the big acquisition of the offseason. That's what they've got. They've got that to crow on right now, and they've got the fact that they hired, Kenny Graham. They hired some new coaches that we haven't seen work with the development system yet. But that's like the stuff that you build when a GM takes over, and it took them 5 years just to realize how bad they were to get to that point. Yeah,
I just was trying to give some context to where we're really at, and so you got to hope that the staff can first stabilize, then optimize a few of these players. Candelario, Castro, somebody in center field. Grossman is at least a pro, but they have no first baseman. They have no right fielder. They don't really have a center fielder. They got a lot of question marks in their rotation. Their bullpen, they got 2 or 3 arms. Farmer, I'll be amazed if Farmer's still on the team at the end of the year. He'd be another guy I would think would get dealt at some point in time.
And then a more key position, we got nothing at catcher.
Well,
we got dreams of Dylan Dingler. That's it.
I mean, here's the thing that when you read stuff like this is why people are excited as they are right now. From Chris Mikowski himself, Tigers 21 season preview. The rebuild is over. The old structure has been raised. AJ Hinch ushers in a new progressive era of Tigers baseball.
Hey, listen. You didn't need to post that. Why? Why did you post it? It's too late now to delete it. Now we just have to live with it.
Well,
this is why rebuild is just such an awful term, because
yes, that's exactly it, Brandon.
The tear down is over.
I don't have a problem with him saying AJ Hinch ushers in a new progressive era of Tigers baseball, because he is correct. Mark said that. We all agree with that.
Yep.
The end of the podcast, look at it this way. The rebuild is over. No, it is not over. And that's okay. They're showing signs of progress. That's fine. But when I think a rebuild's over, I'm thinking you're going to be competing for a playoff spot. And that's not happening.
Yeah.
Sorry. And if you want to, again, kill me, Mr. Overkilljoy, I don't care, because I know it's just, that's what it's there. And they're okay with it. They've even said it. We're not spending this year. We're not, we're working our way up. And AJ Hinch, I think, is realistic about this whole thing. And I think he realizes that, but he's not gonna go out and say it. He's not gonna go out and say it. There's a reason why this team doesn't have a closer right now. There's a reason why it took almost to the last day of the season to see who was gonna be in the 5th spot. And when he had to make the decision about Harold Castro, which was, again, I agree with you, man. I thought it was insane. Yeah. But look, it's just when I see stuff like that, that's why you see that there's 2 classes of fans in this town. They're gonna go, look, all you guys are being is negative. I'm sick and tired of dealing with that crap anyways. I'm sorry. If we see it, we call it the way we see it. So,
well, I think the thing is that people just wrote the Tigers off the last 3 years, and they haven't been paying attention. If you looked at where the Tigers were the last 3 years, they were fucking awful. Like, they were not really a major league franchise. I mean, they were horrific, and we covered that, and I watched all of it, and I paid close attention to every bit of it. All I can say about right now is that absolute, like, this team does not even belong at the major league level. That part is done, but that's not building anything. That's just like, okay, now we're going to actually start to try and give a shit. Because the last 3 years, they didn't give a shit. Ron Gardenhire probably didn't give a shit. He knew what he was there for. They didn't spend any money. They didn't try hard to acquire any talent. They didn't take any risks. They didn't revamp their development system. They bought some fancy cameras and their Rapsodos and got those installed, and got, the nice people of the city of Lakeland spend $50 million to revamp their complex, because Chris Illich, cries poor. Can't pay for that with the pizza money, apparently. So yeah, there's plenty to be, harsh and skeptical about. I feel for myself more optimistic, because the last 3 years have been a drag through the other fucking muck. But that's where we're at. It was grim, and I feel better. I'm happy and excited to be able to watch the good pitching prospects. I think this team has the potential to be somewhat interesting, and the fact that they actually have some smart adults engaged in operating the team and the minor league system makes me at least willing to start fresh and give them a chance from here. And that, I think, is about as reasonably optimistic as one can be right now. There is a long way to go, which is why we love seeing Badu, because that's what the Tigers are going to need, a couple things like that to happen, because, there's going to be more than that. They're going to need to make big trades. They're going to need to spend big dollars, and they're going to need to luck into a few things for this to come together anytime before Miguel Cabrera leaves the Tigers and frees up that $32 million that they can then allocate wisely to something.
I'll say it again, what I said before. The most fun thing in spring training, a 9th round draft choice, a Rule 5 pick, and the manager. In 6, you got the
pitching coach.
In the last 2 Casey Mize starts. All right.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to show for 6 years of just fuckery. All right. Yep. So, do I have visions of being a good baseball team here shortly? I think it's going to be a difficult thing to navigate for all the reasons that I tried to illustrate, which is it's a really tough division. Other teams are really smart too, okay? And you can't just bank on being lucky all the time. I mean, you got a manager just because the Chicago White Sox 84-year-old owner, for some unexplainable reason, decided to hire Tony La Russa, a 77-year-old alcoholic Hall of Fame manager that hasn't managed in a decade.
Allegedly.
Okay. So can you imagine if they would have hired A.J. Hinch?
Oh, I know. I couldn't believe that they didn't. I'm still in shock. That one break might be something that we look back on a few years from now and like, well, thank God.
Yeah,
thank God that one happened.
No, it was funny too when Chris posted that picture of the AJ Hinch signature. Remember when they hired La Russo's AJ Hinch's signature? Remember that? Yeah, that was they had that done deal. But Chris, let's wrap it up here. Final thoughts.
I don't mean to be too pessimistic, but I'm just trying to be realistic. I'm glad there's baseball. I'm glad the 4 of us can go to a game together because we have a blast when we go. Okay, yep. And I'm excited to see Skubal and Mize. I'm excited to see Soto, see if he can close. And I'm excited to see if Badu is a player or not. All right. But my expectations are pretty realistic. So, thank God I have the 3 of you to talk to all the time. Yep. Or else I would probably go insane from aggravation.
Well, go ahead, Brandon.
Another development year. That's where we are. But at least there should be a lot more of interest to watch this year. So, I'm excited. I'm much more excited about covering the team. I'm sure you guys are as well. And I'm just happy baseball is back. Thank God.
I'm happy there's no Jordan Zimmerman to watch.
Poor JC.
Chris, what were you going to say? Final thoughts?
Nothing. That's my final thought. No, I'm got half of my shots already. I'm get my next one on April 15th, and I'll be happy to head down to the ballpark.
Yep. I'm 1 week behind you, so yep, should be there.
Yeah,
should be there soon.
I'll be there April. The second shot I have is April 18th, and then I'm gonna go Thursday. I'm gonna go with my special pod with my wife. I'm looking forward to the opening day. So thanks for
by the ballpark. Sorry, and by the ballpark we mean West Michigan.
The super old person of the 4 of us, I've already had a shot since February 18th, but if somebody wants me to take another shot, I'm up for it.
Shots all around.
Shots all around.
Yeah, there you go. So thanks so much for listening. You can find all our work at blessyboys.com and, of course, at motorcitybengals.com. We'll see you next time. Have a great week, everybody. Good Tigers. Good Tigers. Go Tigers, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys.